if everybody can find their seats. Chris Storr. All right, if everybody could sit down. Chris Storr, I'm looking at you. Chris Storr, Dr. Okay, if everybody could take a seat, we get started. All right, it is 6:32, and I call this meeting to order of the Champaign County Board Committee of the Whole. Clerk, could I have a roll call?
Michaels. Present. Pasalacqua.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Storr.
Present.
Straub.
Here.
Summers.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Thorsland.
Here.
Vantage Theronot.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Wolken. Carter. Cowart.
Present.
Esri.
Present.
Furtado.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Harper. King. Lokshin.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Patterson.
Here. All right, next we have the approval of the agenda. Are there any discussion around that?
Kyle,
Yeah.
excuse me, could I mention that the sheriff has pulled item 9C?
All right. Jen?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, and as Darlene said, item 9C was pulled, which was the intergovernmental agreement between the County of Champaign and the County of Kankakee for inmate housing. And it was pulled because the sheriff anticipated having the IGA back from Kankakee, and we've not received that yet. All right, seeing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Could I have an omnibus motion for the August 29th, 2022 legislative budget hearing, the August 30th, 2022 legislative budget hearing, and the September 13th, 2022 regular meeting? Moved by Ms. Michaels,
Second.
second by Mr. Goss. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we have public participation. If there's any members of the public that would wish to make a public comment, please fill out one of the forms by the front and submit them to me. First, we have Mr. Beck.
Does that work? Yep. Okay, thank you. I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but I didn't get a chance to finish what I was going to say written down, so we'll see how this goes. My name is David Beck. Most of you know me, Regional Director with AFSCME, Council 31. The union that represents most of the employees, about 100 employees, at the University Rehabilitation Center just down the street. Obviously I'm here to speak about this idea that the owner has presented to you all about selling the nursing home, well, I should say closing the nursing home and selling the building. I I expect that there are others here that are going to speak on this issue tonight, and that they are much more prepared and better at speaking on behalf of the residents. And instead, given my position, I'm going to focus only on speaking about the effect that this would have on the employees there, our members. 4 years ago, this county board, including some of you, voted to sell the public county nursing home to Altitude Health Services, a private for-profit company. And the mantra of the pro-sell crowd was, sell it to save it. I don't have a very good memory, but I do remember that very well. And we, of course, argued against that idea. And we put up lots of evidence that the sale of the nursing home would not only hurt the residents, but would hurt the employees there, who were your employees. Well, here we are 4 years later, and the company that was supposed to be saving the nursing home now wants to shut it down. All of those employees then, who have already lost their pensions, who have lost roughly half of the leave time that they had, who have been forced to work with incredibly low staffing levels. And I'll stop there and do a little aside. I think one of the points that the owner, Mr. Rothner, wanted to make was that they can't fill the nursing home. They can't get enough residents to make it profitable. Well, I call BS. Reason they can't get enough people in there to make it profitable is that they don't have enough employees. They consistently operate the nursing home severely understaffed. I'm talking as few as 3 CNAs caring for over 50 residents at a time. And so these folks, they've given all this stuff up, and they've continued to work, and they continue to work through the pandemic with these low staffing levels, and with low pay, and with loss of their pensions, et cetera, et cetera. And now they're being told that all of that was in vain. That all these things that they gave up weren't, yep, sorry, we're gonna shut it down. All the things that you said 4 years ago, well, we have to do this so that it won't shut down. Well, I should go back, because they actually haven't been told that, because when the union, when we told our members, hey, the owner wants to shut it down, and they went to management said, oh, nope, the union's lying. The union's lying. We have no plans to do such a thing. That was one day before your agenda was posted. So I wouldn't trust anything they say. And I hope, since my time is out, I'm going to cut it short, but I hope that you will not even give this a second thought and vote no on allowing the nursing home to close. Thank you.
Next is Claudia Linhoff.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Claudia Lenhoff, and I'm the Executive Director of the Champaign County Healthcare Consumers, and I wanted to speak to the nursing home issue and the proposal by the Rothners that the nursing home be sold to a non-nursing home operator to create a substance abuse treatment center. While we do need more resources for substance abuse treatment in this community, not at the expense of losing another nursing home. When the Rothners bought the county nursing home, when the county sold it to them, they came into the community, they purchased and shut down 2 other nursing homes, Helia Healthcare and Heartland Healthcare. And those were 220 beds combined. And that reduced the number of beds that we have in our community. You are being told that people can go to other communities to get nursing home care there. That includes cancer patients who are in the midst of their treatment, who cannot live at home during their treatment, and it includes people who need to live in a nursing home. We do not have enough beds. In the United States, on average, 4% of people who are age 65 and older live in nursing homes. In Champaign County, that 4%, based on the population right now, would come out to 1,128 people. If this nursing home is allowed to close, we would lose all of those beds, and we would be down to between 360 and 400 beds in this county. Right now, people are already, for the last couple years, people are already being sent away because the nursing homes are understaffed, can't handle the capacity, have problems with quality of care, which, by the way, if you look at the data, when quality of care problems start cropping up and there are bad ratings, you see the census come down. Why? Well, if I am a discharge planner in a hospital and I'm working to help place your mother in the best place for her, and I know that a certain place has a bad reputation, or that when my patients have gone there and then they've had to come back in less than 10 days with problems, I would stop recommending that place. But it is a hardship for people to have to go out of town. And going to Ford County should not be an option. Champaign-Urbana is a healthcare hub, for God's sake. It's a healthcare hub. People from the hospitals here go to nursing homes, and a lot of them are from this community, and they should be able to get their health care in the community in which they live. If the nursing home is allowed to be sold to a non-nursing home provider, it'll never come back as a nursing home. And then we will only have about 400 beds in this community with a growing population and a growing aging population. Somebody asked me, well, if the quality of care is so bad over there, why should we keep the nursing home open? Well, what we should do is demand that they increase staffing, pay them well, and thereby increase the quality of care. It's not rocket science. They know this. They shut down 2 other nursing homes. They made money on those transactions. Why didn't they hire more people or retain more staff or pay more for the staff who are there to care for the loved ones of this community? So I would just urge you to please think about that and send them back to send them back and tell them they're not going to be able to get out of this covenant. Those covenants in that contract were hard fought and won, and they were in there for a reason. They were in there to protect this community after we sold one of our major assets. So we need to continue to protect this community. If they want to sell the nursing home, let them find a nursing home operator, but it needs to continue as a nursing home. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. Next is Dottie Veerwise.
Good evening. I've talked about this with the county board before. I think about half of the members are new from last time I did, but the other half I recognize. I'm a retired physician. When I moved here about 9 years ago, there was a county nursing home that was seen as an asset to the community, and it had been supported. It had been here for ages. It had been supported by a tax referendum sometime in the past several decades. when in 1917 there was another referendum. You've heard some of the things that were going on then. For one, also, we had just been through several years, 4 years with a governor who would not pass a budget. When Medicaid rates were kind of frozen, when the system was not doing a good job of activating, dealing with applications for Medicaid for people in nursing homes, and that put many payments in the delayed category, and that was a major problem for the nursing home. There was an effort to pass another referendum, and that was also for taxes, and that was a time when there were so many people that were in a very much of an anti-tax mood, and unfortunately, from my point of view, the referendum didn't pass. But the commitment that the county had to the people of the area who were going to need nursing home care, to the families of those people, was really important, and it was a real strength of the community and an asset. So we got to the time when it seemed inevitable that it had to be sold. The conditions, the covenants in the contract were the protection, because we knew that selling it to a private entity, that there was going to be a desire to have enough money coming in, that some of the money would be profits for people from outside of the community. And there would not be that commitment either to the patients in the nursing home or to the families of the area who relied on that to be able to have their family members close by when they were either in for a short time for recovery and rehabilitation or for a longer time, because that was the point in their life they were in. And so we've really lost that commitment. We need to hold the Rothners to the contract that they signed. Nobody held a gun to their head to sign it, but they signed it because they knew that it was part of what we expected from them. And yes, as Claudia said, we need nursing home, yes, we need nursing home capacity for the many reasons that she said. We need substance use disorder treatment for detox, for short-term programs and residential programs and outpatient programs. But there are questions in my mind about whether this is the geographical place to put it, and also it's not what this area and those buildings are intended for. So I strongly urge all the county board members to remember that when a contract has been signed, people should follow it, and also to, as was said, not even seriously consider the request that's been made by this group to sell it to an alternative use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Renee Mullen.
So I'd like to address the resolution being proposed tonight on the subject of abortion. It's very late on the agenda here. I strongly encourage the county board to become better educated on the subject of abortion. Presumably, the board members are individuals who claim to believe in science, at least when it pertains to some issues. If so, then please consider the science of biology and the science of genetics. Biology teaches us that human life begins at conception. A preborn baby's heartbeat is present at 21 days old and can be clearly seen on an ultrasound. I have the great privilege of witnessing the baby's heartbeat along with the mother and sometimes the father at the pregnancy center where I volunteer each week, including today. For anyone here who is a parent, you've probably had the great privilege of witnessing your own child's heartbeat on an ultrasound very early on in that pregnancy. Genetics teaches us that our DNA is clearly present at conception. Our DNA determines our humanity as opposed to determining that we are an animal or a vegetable. All genetic definition for each baby is present at fertilization, including eye color, hair color, gender, race, fingerprints, and much more. This genetic definition, making each of us a unique human being, does not magically appear at the point of being born. I strongly encourage the county board to research the Abortion Survivors Network. This organization includes individuals who have survived an attempt to abort them and who have chosen to publicly share their stories. They are all clearly human beings. They were all clearly human beings from the moment of their conception. Yet any one of them could have had their lives ended at the very beginning if the attempt to abort them had been successful. What would you like to say to their families about your zeal to ensure that many more millions of fellow human beings like them should be killed? At what point do you believe that their lives had value and that they should enjoy the same right to life that you enjoy? How many of you know someone who was adopted? At what point did their life have value and did they deserve the same right to life that you deserve? Both of my daughters are adopted, and we are blessed and fortunate to have them in our lives. Their birth mothers could clearly have decided to abort them. One of the birth mothers was a teenager when she became pregnant. She made a very courageous decision to recognize the humanity of her preborn child and to allow her to be born to be placed for adoption. Which one of you would like to tell my children that they didn't deserve to live and that their lives have no value? Abortion hurts everyone associated with it. Women who have had an abortion have higher incidence of increased depression, increased addiction, increased future preterm birth for subsequent pregnancies where they decide to allow their child to be born, and potentially an increased breast cancer risk. There's plenty of research that corroborates all of these detrimental impacts for women who choose to have an abortion. There's even a new medical term called post-abortion stress syndrome, similar to the term PTSD that we typically think of pertaining to the military. There are post-abortion recovery programs such as Deeper Still and Rachel's Vineyard, which take place in our central Illinois community and all over the country throughout the year. These programs exist because there is a need for them. For anyone who has struggled with the after effects of having chosen to abort your child, I strongly encourage you to look into these programs so you may find help and healing. Abortion is a billion-dollar industry. Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion organization, receives $500 million in taxpayer-funded support each year. They make $200 million in income from abortion each year. Abortion is very much a money-making endeavor. In contrast, there are thousands of free pregnancy centers located all over the United States, including our Champaign-Urbana and Champaign County area. Every service provided by these pregnancy centers is free. They do not charge for anything they do, from pregnancy tests to ultrasounds to STD testing to parenting classes to mentoring programs to free maternity clothes, baby toddler clothes, diapers, formula, Christmas presents, and more. There's a saying, follow the money. There's a reason why abortion clinics make an average of $500 for each abortion and why pregnancy centers do not charge for anything. Pregnancy centers do not wish to profit from women's vulnerability. If the abortion industry was truly concerned about women, why don't they provide anything for free? They have massive funding for taxpayer support, and they have prominent celebrities and corporations making sizable donations. Slavery was legal for hundreds of years before enough citizens stood up and spoke out to abolish it. It was clearly wrong, as slaves were treated as less than human. The Three-Fifths Compromise in 1787 defined slaves as three-fifths human for purposes of representation and taxation. How can someone be three-fifths human? Aren't we all 100% human as determined by biology and genetics? Slavery was legalized in the U.S. in 1641. Former slaves didn't receive the rights of citizenship and equal protection of the Constitution until the 14th Amendment in 1868. We are still treating African Americans as less than human, as 1/3 of all abortions taking place today are of African American babies. During the Holocaust, Hitler deemed Jewish people to be unwanted and not fully human. The German Supreme Court refused to recognize Jews as legal persons, and they had no rights or protection under the German Constitution. Over 6 million of them were put to death in horrific ways, including my ancestors. I have visited the concentration camps where they died. They died because people like you who are pushing this ridiculous abortion resolution think that it is acceptable to deem some people as less than human and not deserving to live. At least 38 states have fetal homicide laws. These pertain to the purposeful or accidental killing of a fetus due to a criminal act such as vehicular homicide or voluntary manslaughter. Many of these state laws indicate that the law applies to an unborn child in utero at any stage of development. Therefore, experts in criminal law recognize the humanity of the preborn baby. These laws predate Roe versus Wade. Yet a mother could be driving to an abortion clinic to abort her preborn baby at the time that she is in an accident that kills her preborn baby, and the person causing that accident
Ma'am,
can be
your
charged
time
with
is
fetal
up.
homicide. How can that baby
Ma'am,
be
your
both
time
human
is
and
up.
not human at the same time? I have 2 sentences left, please. Slavery was wrong. The Holocaust was wrong. Abortion is wrong. Every abortion stops a beating heart. Every abortion terminates the life of the preborn baby. Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Thank you very much.
All right. Next is Benjamin Beaupre.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've been here in person and actually talking in public comments. The news on the nursing home is actually what brought me out today. Remind me, since I'm here at a lot of these meetings, of fellow you guys used to see pretty often, David Laker. His big thing was, what about Sue? Always talking about his wife and the nursing home. Wanted to make sure that y'all, depending on, whether you saw fiscal responsibility issues here to make sure the nursing home stayed functional and working for the residents, or whether you were wanting to push for a public nursing home to make sure that it was secure. He really got past a lot of the politics and just to the root of it. What about Sue? Sue's gone now. So is David Laker. He can't be here today. I sent you all a link to a YouTube video where he made his argument in his own words back in January 2018. I hope you listened to it. It's still as relevant now as it was back then. A lot of the same arguments now are basically what we ran into back then. We were sold a bill of goods. There was a contract, there was an agreement, and pretty much all of us knew it was full of lies from these people. We saw their record. We saw what they did with previous nursing homes. We knew what they were going to do. But, as a county, we were desperate. We had skeleton crews in pretty much all the offices. We were out of options. So, y'all had to make a call, bad choices out of bad options, and that's what government is half the time. And no judgment on that. I wouldn't want to have been in your shoes back then. I was very clear about that. I didn't know what the right thing to do was. But we do need to look out for folks, especially our most vulnerable folks. And, we all have grandparents. We all had great-grandparents who they needed our help and support. It didn't matter if, they were watching Fox News all night long, or if they were, crazy hippies from the 70s who ran with revolutionaries. It didn't matter. We loved them, and we need to take care of them. Sorry, I had to follow whatever that was before.
Next up is Jeff Wilson.
Hey, good evening. My name is Jeff Wilson, and I live in Champaign. I had three quick topics, and the first one was related to the nursing home. So right now, my uncle, who's actually a year younger than me, is in a nursing home, and his health is deteriorating, and sometimes I wonder about the care that's really adequate enough for him. And then I expect that my wife's parents are on the quick march to a nursing home. And I think everyone here, if you're alive, has been to a nursing home. And sometimes those conditions are not right. And what I would recommend that the county board would consider is, what is the compassionate and right thing to do with respect to the nursing home and to those that need help. They're vulnerable, they need help, and maybe the right thing not to do is to shut down the nursing home. Maybe the right thing to do is to, what can we do as a team, as a community, to rise together to take care of those that are vulnerable and in desperate need of care and compassion. So that's my thought on the nursing home. Now, my thought on the two resolutions. It seems you would have to be insane right now to think that the President of the United States was not elected. He really was elected. He really was duly elected. That election was probably certified, I think, by every state in the Union. It was certified by the process of certification. All the electors agree that, yep, that person is the President of the United States. So I guess I question the wisdom. I question the thought process that would have to stand up and say, we resolve in Champaign County that the President was elected. It's almost like saying, I resolve that the sun is going to set tonight, which it already did, and I resolve that the sun is going to rise tomorrow morning. So my question really to people that write those kind of resolutions, What in the world are you thinking? Isn't there something else better to take care of with respect to our Champaign County? That is, like, i.e., how about the nursing home? How about the sheriff? How about safety? How about community things that are important to the community? I would just recommend just move on. Get over it. Just move on and do the right thing for our community, and a resolution like that just seems ludicrous. Then my last point. The third point is with respect to the other resolution, which is Champaign County, a champion of reproductive freedom. So let's think about that. Let's think about the words reproductive freedom. I would say we all have the right to reproduce. We all have the freedom to reproduce. But what seems crazy is, why would we be so disingenuous to say that the reproductive freedom that we should have in our county and our community is to destroy life, not preserve life? After all, think about this. I think our main mission in life, whether a person is 1 minute old or 100 years old, is to preserve and protect and give that life dignity, viability, care, and protection. In 2020, there were over 46,000 terminations of life through the process of abortion in Illinois. And then there were over 100 in Champaign County. So here's what I would recommend. I would recommend that Champaign County should be a champion for life, period, regardless what stage of life is. And I'd also would recommend that we drop both of these crazy resolutions and move on and do the right thing for our community. Thank you.
All right, next we have Mike Ingram.
Hi, everybody. I was just coming to speak about the nursing home, but apparently also the resolutions are on the tip of everybody's tongue. Regarding the resolution to declare Joe Biden the winner of the 2020 election, it does seem like a silly thing to have to do, except that we have candidates in this county that are running and saying that they aren't sure if he was elected or not, and that is a problem for me, especially when they're running to be the people that run our elections in this county. So if that's the question that you have, there's the answer that I have. I don't want somebody who doesn't know who won the election in 2020 to run the elections here. When it comes to the choice resolution that's on the agenda, I think it's worth noting that nowhere in this country can a person be compelled to do anything in order to save another person's life. You can't be compelled to give somebody an organ, even if you're the only match. You can't be compelled to give your blood if you are a rare blood type and somebody needs it to survive. The right to body autonomy is sacrosanct even in death. They can't take your organs unless you've agreed to it. Telling a woman that she is required to risk her life because mortality rates are much higher carrying to term than they are during an abortion procedure, and that's particularly true for Black women, is problematic on so many levels, but in particular, when it stems from a background of not being willing to do the things that you actually can do to reduce the number of abortions in this country, which includes comprehensive sex education, birth control availability being widespread, and removing the stigma from it, that actually drastically reduces the rate of abortions in this country. And the fact that we are fighting about this and unwilling to do the real work is a problem. Sell it to save it. Mr. Beck reminded everybody of that phrase a little bit ago. And it's very funny to see this agenda item proposed by the cutthroat company that we managed to find to do this, to buy the nursing home when nobody else would. And that was the tagline. That was what we were told. And now the proposal is to sell it again, one more time, And they've brought to us the idea that they're bringing a noble venture to take it over. The people that work in this facility were being praised and called heroes 2 years ago. When this nursing home was sold, at the time, I don't know if it's changed because I don't have the access to those records anymore, but at the time, they were unlike any other department under the county's employ. They were a majority women, but also a majority minority women. That did not seem to be a moving factor for anybody when we were selling it that wanted to sell it, but it is still true. The people that proponents of the sale were saying were going to have their jobs saved by the sale, they've been through more than enough, not only from the pandemic, but also living through a sale that decimated the morale of their unit. The covenants were very, very hard won. These are things that we put into place to try to ensure continuity of care and employment for the people that used to be under our care. If the county wants to get serious about funding better treatment plans and providing more spaces, we do have spaces that we could be doing that in. But from a personal standpoint, I'm looking forward to this company, watching this company operate this nursing home until the very last minute of the very last day of the agreement that they signed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Alan Max Axelrod.
All right, to start. Good evening. My name is Alan Max Axelrod. I'm a resident in District 11. It's difficult to speak to you all where you'll actually hear what we have to say, because cynicism is something that you are accustomed to. Sarcastic remarks, passive-aggressive jabs, other ways of trying to undermine your integrity or sense of self are a regular occurrence. So I'm here tonight in support of the workers of AFSCME regarding the nursing home. It's nothing unusual for politicians to make one promise and for some conditions to change and to adjust to those changes. I would have greatly preferred for such an amendment to this proposal to extend the termination date of those union jobs from 2027 to indefinitely, to 2030, 2035 onwards. That's where I'm coming to you from, but I'm going to speak to you very honestly, candidly, and appreciatively. I first want to start out by going back to a more trying time as far as the pandemic is concerned. January 20th of this year, the following people voted to pass a resolution on utility shutoffs. Thorsland, Venachila Ranant, I'm very sorry, I cannot pronounce that. That's not a joke. I'll talk to you about learning how to pronounce that. Williams, Wolkin, Carter, Cowart, Furtado, King, Lokshin, Michaels, Paul, Rodriguez, Storr, Straub, Summers, Taylor, and Patterson. And among the no votes, there were some thoughtful comments, one of which was with regards to calling on the governor to act, that the guy didn't care. You were right and wrong. And this is not a gotcha. I want to explain what happened there, and then we'll move back to the nursing home. A person doesn't have to care for a grassroots movement to force them to do the right thing. If you want to see a YouTube video on the game theory dynamics of it, just search Golden Balls, Steel, or something like that on YouTube. You'll see a really amazing thing where someone who wants a constructive outcome to occur with someone who's operating dishonestly as their opponent, and they had to both cooperate in order to win, was able to win. Governor Pritzker did not want to help with that issue. That's the reason why that resolution was needed and important. And I'm explaining it to you so that the next time we come with a demand or with a concern, that you'll understand that we have an idea as to how that will work, how that will actually help our residents. What happened after that was some activists in Springfield disrupted his press conference in a grocery store We had FOIA'd his office and found out that disastrously few people had received the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And through continued effort, we were able to get another $80 million automatically appropriated to every resident in need in this state. The LIHEAP season, Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, usually ends in May and resumes in September. LIHEAP recipients did not need to pay their utility bills a single month between those 2 months. They were covered in June, they were covered in July, and they were covered in August, automatically. So I apologize for the miscommunication there. I hope that you will ask us more about what we're doing, why we're here in the future. Regarding the sale of this nursing home, I also want to point out, as I did back when we were pressuring for this resolution, that the county board, by branding, is a lot more progressive than they were in 2018 when the sale happened. I'd look at the difference in this council in particular, or a county board in particular, and be very concerned as to any folks who support this amendment that undermines union jobs, at the same time while maybe even having pro-union signs in their yard. So please just remember, the people who work at this nursing home, they're people. They're not donors. They're not political operatives. They're people just trying to live their lives, take care of their family, and take care of the people in that facility. Let them do their job. Have a good night.
Next is Mary. I'm sorry, I'm a millennial. I can't really read cursive too well. There.
I'm Mary Ganaway. I hadn't really planned to speak tonight until I got here. I have a daughter that is at the nursing home that's 62 years old. This is her home, this community, and our family is here. I'm just speaking tonight for all of the people that's in the nursing home that have families around this area, this community. It's always been their home for a lot of them. And it's just sad to think that this company that bought the place, that wanted to buy it, are trying to get out of their contract now. They knew what the contract was when they signed it. And that's what people were depending on, that they would be running it until 2028. I just hope that the board would consider them trying to get out of their contract, and these people in the community that have families here just would pray that they would get to stay here in this area. And it's close for people to go, that this is their home. There's many, many people out there in the nursing home that is from this community. They don't want to be moved some other town, some other place. So I hope that you would just consider, if it were your family member there, to try and think about it, how you would like it if this was just come up and people say they're going to run the place and then they try to get out of their bargain. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Amanda Ullman.
Hi, everyone. Good night. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Amanda Ullman. I've been a resident of Champaign County for 16 years. I have 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. And to be perfectly honest, I would rather be home with them right now than here talking to you guys. But this resolution to make Champaign County a champion of reproductive freedom, which you admit in what you wrote, equals abortion. I just can't sit at home with my kids knowing that this could happen to this county that I love. So my first question is this, to echo what he said, is this really the best use of Champaign County Board resources? Like, this is really worth our time? This is something we care that much about? This resolution is not reflective of our county's values. The majority of Americans and people who live in this county support restrictions on abortion. Most want it restricted to the first trimester. Most support parental notification. Most are opposed to taxpayer funding of abortion. There's a lot of areas here that we can find common ground, and I think that to explicitly say that our county would be a champion of abortion, it's just going too far, and it's not reflective of our county's values. So he had said that there were 100 abortions in Champaign County in whatever year it was, he said. Is it really so if we're champions, if our county becomes a champion of abortion, like, how many more do we want? Every single one of those 100 represents a unique human life that will never be repeated again, with its own bodily autonomy that is separate from the mother's bodily autonomy, because there's two bodies involved. And how many more do we want than 100? If we're going to be champions of this, do we want 200 dead babies in our county and hurting families, mothers and fathers and their extended families, that's going to extend for generations? Do we want 300? Like, we can't pull ourselves together to support 100 women who are unexpectedly pregnant and need extra support. I know that there are a lot of resources in our community. Just last week, I was at the Pregnancy Resource Center banquet where there were almost 900 people there. Those 900 people would be thrilled to help, 9 of them on one woman considering abortion in Champaign County. Like, we can pull ourselves together and we can help these women. That doesn't have to be their choice, and especially with the resolution saying specific things about communities of culture, communities of color and low income. What you're saying, though, when you're not helping these women, is you're saying your little babies of color are better off dead than alive, is really what, if we want to be champions of abortion instead of champions of helping women and babies. And in addition to that, it's just not necessary in our county. Our state is already has the most, we're up there with North Korea and China in allowing abortions up to birth for any reason whatsoever. Like most other, even like European countries typically don't allow abortion past 15 weeks. And so, our state is already selling itself on an abortion destination. We don't have to push anything extra within our county. Does that make any sense? And an issue that really concerns me the most, having 3 daughters, is that as if it wasn't enough to allow abortions up to birth for any reason whatsoever in our state, that parental notification was also repealed, which means that these teenage girls who have to have parental permission to have Tylenol at school can go and get surgery, major surgery, or get an abortion pill that they're going to take at home and be in a lot of pain alone, not under any medical care, that they can do that not only without their parents' permission, but without their parents ever knowing about it. And that girls can cross state lines to come to Illinois for that to happen. That sex traffickers take advantage of things like that. They bring these young girls that are not related to them across state lines to cover up for their crimes. That's what we want to be a champion of in Champaign County. We can do better.
All right, I'm all out of public comment forms. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to make a comment? All right, seeing none, moving on to communications. And as you can see on your agenda, There is a communication about the 2020 Disability Resource Expo, which will be at Marketplace Mall Saturday, October 22nd from 11 to 4 p.m. I'd really recommend attending this. I've attended before in the past. It really gives you a lot of insight on what services are available in the community, and there's really a wide variety of stuff. Are there any other communications?
Thank you, Kyle. I have a note from Chad Hoffman, the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. His note reads, Habitat for Humanity made a proposal last month, and this was written on at the end of September, so that would be August, to the Champaign County Board for ARPA money due to our greatly escalated construction costs. The proposal seemed to sit without a champion to move it forward. Do I have any thoughts? He also included the presentation that was submitted, which I did forward to Ms. Kleppel to disseminate to the whole board, but I just wanted to put that out there because I think we may have some flexibility coming up. From personal experience, I know that they do a wonderful job, and they do it's a great service to the community, the housing that they provide, and I have a lot of respect for their motto of a hand up, not a handout. And I was able to participate in one build, and I was able to go back on some builds that were a year old and a 2-year-old builds, and it's amazing how awesome the properties still are and how the new owners value that so much. And so I just wanted to present that because I think that might be a good option for us.
Thanks. Mr. McGuire?
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I was able to attend the grand opening of the Martin Center, it's a Champaign Park District facility and boys club in a needy area of our community. Wonderful facility, basketball courts, classrooms, other things. Just a great place for kids and families. A great opportunity for our community. I know that the Parks District requested $100,000 worth of ARPA funds. I haven't seen that discussed. Hopefully that we will be able to, because I asked them about it, they haven't heard anything in response. Hopefully we'll be able to support them and the community with those funds. Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Thanks. I was approached by Julian Carter. This is a childhood friend of Kewan Carrington's just last week. He is interested in submitting a request to the city of Champaign to rename Champaign Street near Bristol Place in his honor, so Kewan Carrington Street. He'll be submitting that paperwork on Friday. We've contacted city council members, obviously, and that's all in the works, but I am planning on submitting a letter in support. And if that is something that other members of the board would like to sign on to, I'm happy to circulate that your way. Thanks.
Thank you. Excuse me. Anybody else? Mr. Esri?
Thanks. I have an email here received sent to myself, Mr. Harper, and Ms. Kleppel. Don't know that anyone else received this directly. Dear Mr. Esri, Mr. Harper, and Ms. Kleppel, I read about the current owners of the former Champaign County Nursing Home wanting to sell it. Losing nursing home space in our county sounds like a very serious problem. We need more places with quality care, not fewer. Please enforce, stand with the covenant that was added to the sale and deny the sale of the facility. Thank you for your service to Champaign County. And from a Mr. Samuel Furrer, F-U-R-R-E-R, if I mispronounced that name. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody, Mr. Thorson?
Yeah, to add to Aaron, I think all of us got a lot of emails about the nursing home, and I will say that not one email said, no, that's a great idea, let's let them out of what they signed in the contract. They were all in support of holding the owners who signed the contract to keep it open as a nursing home for 10 years to continue to do that. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I got my vote by mail ballot in the mail when I returned from a short trip. We've had a lot of discussion about polling places and where they are. I want to remind people that early voting's already open here. More and more early voting places will open. They will all be universal. If you don't like where you have to go to vote, and you happen to be one of the others, you can vote at any polling place. And that will continue as more and more open up until the election, including on election day. So there's no reason not to vote, so please do.
All right, anybody else? All right, next on the agenda is the drawing of lots to determine term lengths for county board members.
Okay, so tonight we are drawing lots at a public meeting for the 2-year and 4-year terms of the county board members that would be elected in November. Because we had a decennial year and we changed the boundary districts, we need to reassign everybody to a county board seat. And the board members that are elected, all of whom will be running for election this year, will be assigned based on this drawing, which one gets the 2-year term and which one gets the 4-year term. So I have a hat. We're going to draw from the hat. Mr. Ingram is going to draw for the Democrats, and Mr. Paul is going to draw for the Republicans. We will alternate for each district. So I will put the things in the hat. This is for District 1. Mr. Ingram, you can start. And we will read the names as they come out, and Megan will keep track of them. Whichever name is drawn first will go in the first slot. The second slot, there are spaces for write-in candidates. And in the order that they are drawn would be the 2-year term or the 4-year term if they get elected. So that's how we do it. You draw them all, one at a time. Okay.
Darlene, could you clarify the process? Because this isn't what the board previously did, and I'm not sure it makes sense.
This is what the board previously did.
The board drew numbers, and the two people with the highest votes, whoever had the highest number had the 4-year term, and whoever had the lowest number had the 2-year term. So
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we have the numbers. They're 1, 2, 3, 4 over there. So we're drawing the names.
Shouldn't Mr. Paul be doing the Republicans?
Draw the names.
there are no Democratic candidates.
But
this
what
board.
what if 2 people that are assigned 4 years win?
No, it's not. It's
No.
whoever gets first.
It's still numerical order.
It's still order. It's still numerical order. So the first person is.
Let's see what came up first. This says write-in number 2. So
Write-in
write-in
number
number 2
2
wins, they get the...
That's correct. If write-in number 2 wins, they get the 2-year term.
Okay, so if you get drawn first, you get the preferred 2-year term.
Yes.
Jeff Wilson.
That's the 2-year term.
There's a lot of suspense in this one. Write-in number 1 will be in the 3rd slot. And James Goss gets the number 4 slot.
Okay. So in this particular case, though there are only 2 people running, if there's a write-in, then they'd be included. But otherwise, they already know who's going to get the 2-year term and the 4-year term, if nobody else gets a write-in. Okay.
My condolences, Jim.
I know. No suspense on that one. Okay. District 2,
I'll make it.
Mr. Paul, you can draw.
Write-in 1. Write-in 2.
Okay.
Big one. Diane Michaels.
2-year term.
And then
Yeah, only if you beat the write-ins, Diane.
Tom Sexton.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, District 3.
Okay. Write-in number 2. It's going great. Write-in number 1. All right. Big money Big money, no whammy. Kathleen McMahon.
If she wins, she gets the 2. Yep.
Stan Harper. Gotta pull it anyway. And Aaron Esri in the number 5 slot. That's
Okay.
right in 2, 1. McMahon, Harper.
Yep.
Jen?
Okay. Sure. Then the first person's name drawn gets the 2-year term. The second year's, yeah.
I'm 4, and if I win, I'm automatically 4 because I'm the last person drawn in that group. So the only
Okay,
question,
this
the only
is-
question would be the,
District number 4.
Right in 1.
All these
Right in
write-ins,
one.
boy, the write-ins are gonna win this one. All right.
Brad Pasalacqua. Elizabeth Harner Friedman. Right in 2. And there's
One left.
No, there's 2 on 2
Oh,
left.
there's 2 left. Okay.
Jennifer Loshkin. And then Jim McGuire.
Okay. Well, Jim's leaving. Uh-huh. Sure. Did you get all those names? Okay. Okay, this is district number 5.
They're all in a bunch. There we go. Okay. Lucas Atwood. Leah Taylor. That was money well spent, Leah. Write-in number 2. Write-in number 1. Vaughn Young. And finally, Bethany Vantage Theronaut. Congratulations, Bethany.
Okay, district number 6.
Write-in number 2. Samantha Carter. Mike Ingram. Write-in number 1. Okay, Kyle. Now we find out.
Okay, district number 7.
All right, Kyle, here we go. Don't let me down, Mike. Kyle Patterson. Sorry, Eric. Maybe one of the write-ins will beat you. Write-in number 1. Eric Thorsland. And write-in number 2. Trade.
And district number 8.
Emily Rodriguez.
Sorry, Stephanie.
Write-in number 2. Sorry. I gotta said crumple them up beforehand. Stephanie Fortunato.
Good, it's not you.
Furtado, sorry. Furtado. I'm hungry still. Write-in 1. I'm sorry, Stephanie. Yeah.
Yep, skunked
Yeah,
again.
threw him off.
If I had wanted it, I would have got the 2. If I had wanted
District
the 4,
number
I would have got the 2.
9.
All right, here we go, 9.
We're an hour in.
Write-in number 1. Write-in number 2. Here's the big one. Jennifer Straub. And finally, Jennifer Locke.
District number 10. We have a little more this time. Straub and Jennifer Locke. There was Jennifer Locke. Jennifer Locke was somebody that's not currently on the board.
Jamala Rogers. Write-in number 2. Dean Hazen. Mike Copel. A little shake there. There we go. Grab 2 here. Chris Storr. Oh, why'd you do that to me? All right. Write-in number 1.
Okay, last one, everybody.
Okay, last one, district number 11.
All right, the first contestant on the Showcase Showdown is write-in number 1. Karen James. Write-in number 2. Wayne Williams. And Lorraine Coher.
Okay.
Thanks for playing, everybody.
Yep. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the Finance Committee. Ms. Furtado.
All right, still trying to get over the last item. Budget transfers, budget amendment BUA 2022-990, Fund 10080, General Corporate Department 040, Sheriff, increase appropriations 23,728, increase revenue 23,728, reason to receive reimbursement for equipment purchases from federal grant funding. Do I have a motion? Mr. Esri,
So
do I have a
moved.
second? Brad, Mr. Passalacqua, second. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Budget Amendment BUA 2022-9383, Fund 2630, Circuit Clerk Operation and Administration Department 030, Circuit Clerk, increased appropriations $87,019.38, increased revenue $0. Reason to pay for Jano services for the implementation of Pay It, the system used to pay fees and costs for the clerk's office. Do I have a motion? Ms. Court, do I have a second? Leah, Taylor, discussion. I will mention the circuit clerk is here to answer any questions, and as always has given us a quite thorough set of memos. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Budget transfer BUA 2022-9381, Fund 2630, Circuit Clerk, Operation and Administration Department 030, Circuit Clerk. Amount $41,065.44. Reason to transfer funds allocated for the vacant court technology specialist position to the professional services line for training on JANA programs. This is in relationship to Mr. Bedwell leaving us. Mr. Thorsland, Jen, do I have, well, I already did it. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Treasurer, is everyone okay with me doing the next four as an omnibus? Treasurer, resolution authorizing the cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on a mobile home permanent parcel number 04-006-0115, parcel number 11-013-0025, parcel number 14-019-0034, and parcel number 30-058-0137. Do I have a motion? Beth, second. Diane, or Beth first, Diane second. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Monthly report from the auditor's office is on the website. Next motion, county executives recommendation to the county board to receive and place on file the fiscal year 2023 tentative budget. Mr. Goss first.
So moved.
Mr. Thorsland second. Discussion? I just wanted to say thank you to Tammy and to all of the staff. This was a uniquely difficult year to do the budget process as we transfer from one financial system to the other. Thank you for all the incredible work that you put on that, and please, everybody, just extend to everyone who worked on this and all the departments. I know it was a team effort to get this one in this year, so thank you to everybody. We will be revisiting this obviously in a month after there's a chance for the public to digest what we're proposing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Other business? Chair's report? I don't have one. Designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda would be A, 1, 2, and 3, B, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I don't know, does D1 go on the consent, or is that just like it's, okay, and then D1. I just didn't know like what the rule was on that. And I'm done.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Justice and Social Services. Ms. Taylor?
Thank you, Kyle. We're going to start off with item A here. The monthly reports for probation and court services, public defender, and animal control are all available on each department's webpage. Item B, for information only, we have the Rosecrans Reentry Financial Report. And I'm looking for a motion for item D, proposed amendment to the restrictions and covenants of the nursing home sale contract. Jenny Lockshin motioned. Jacob Paul second. Is there any discussion? Mr. McGuire first.
Could we have the representatives come up and speak to the issue?
The representatives are here to answer
Yeah, the
questions.
representatives are here tonight. This is Steve Scher and Keith Gibbons, who are representing the University Rehab Facility. You can come on up to the speaker there. The button in the middle, if you push down, will light up the, yeah, now it's lit. You're fine. Just speak right into the microphone. Did you have a question, Mr. McGuire?
Well, could you explain from your perspective, the position that the nursing home is in and its owner, and why you have to come to us for this change in covenant to start out with?
So, my name's Keith Gibbons. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Altitude Health Services. I work directly with both William Rothner and his father, who are the two principals of the business. Sure. I'm sorry about that. Steve?
My name's Steve Scher. I'm the attorney.
So I think I'd like to explain the background from our perspective, because obviously there's perspectives on both sides. We've heard, I think, some of the perspectives on the other side. We bought this building in early 2019. It was a competitive bidding process. We were the high bidder. We do not have any outside investors, so all of the money that's gone into this building from an equity perspective and securing a loan perspective, it's all our money. We obviously went into it with the best of intentions, because we're not in business to intentionally make bad investments. We believe that this was a very sound investment. Before I go any further, though, I would like to address one matter, and that's why am I here and not Mr. Rothner? Because I think it's important. It's not meant as a show of disrespect at all. Mr. Rothner had a trip abroad planned for today in correlation with a religious holiday. He's out of the country. He very much would have liked to have been here. He would have been here if Zoom had been available, but we were told that it was not. So that's why I'm here and he's not here. So we bought the building, as I said, in 2019. Obviously, COVID changed the entire dynamic of the nursing home industry throughout this country, Champaign County, Illinois, U.S. as a whole. And the losses that we've incurred have been substantial and continued. And, I've heard everyone say it's 3.5, 4 years. 3.5 and 4 years of losing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a month that are coming out of one family's pocket is a tough road to hoe. But we have continued to support through the pandemic, through all of the issues associated with the pandemic, loss of census, again, across the industry, the labor shortage, again, across the industry. And so to think that we haven't supported this is just not true. I would also like to point out that it was raised on a couple of occasions, the 2 other buildings that we closed in Champaign. And I think it's important to understand the background behind that, because there was nothing nefarious or anything. The Manor Care building on Springfield was bought as part of a 21 nursing home portfolio that we purchased in Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Kansas. Obviously, when you buy 21 nursing homes, some of them you're buying more for some of them than you are for the others. We kind of knew coming in that it might be a difficult transition. It was 50% occupied, give or take at the time, and was losing lots of money. We came in, we analyzed it, we tried our best. We determined that it just wasn't the highest and best use for that property. It was a 60-year-old nursing home building. It is now a brand new $50 million or so, is my understanding, construction project that's complete. It's called the Icon. It's a student housing project that will benefit the community for decades to come. It already benefited the community, obviously, in terms of construction jobs and so on and so forth. But going forward, it will provide student housing for the university, the growing university, as well as provide, obviously, help on the real estate tax base, because it is now a more productive asset. The other building on Mathis was bought as part of a 14-bed nursing home. And as part of the purchase transaction, we had to agree with the current operator that he could give it back to us in 6 months if he wasn't able to turn it around, because it was already a troubled nursing home. We agreed to that, again, because over the 14 buildings, it made sense. Sure enough, that operator turned it back to us almost exactly 6 months after he bought. We subsequently operated that building for approximately 12 months after that, incurring substantial losses, trying our best to turn it around. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful, and we made the difficult decision to close that building. Now, in both cases, it's true, we did own the county building, and the thought was, given that they had to close from a financial perspective, could that impact positively the census of the county building, which is a very fair question, and we thought that it would. And in the short run, in both cases, it did. Census went up by 20, 25, give or take for each closing. But within 5, 6 months, it just went back to the, the census, the base census, which is roughly 50% of the 243-bed nursing home, a little less than 50% currently. So wanted to clear that up. There was nothing, we weren't buying these, thinking we were going to close them down to help this building. It was just part of larger transactions that is, in the business world, that's kind of how it went. So where we stand now is the losses that we're just incurring are just not sustainable. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, millions over 4 years that have been put in addition to the initial investment. And we followed faithfully all of the covenants in terms of retaining employees, retaining existing residents throughout the process. But unfortunately, we've reached the point where we just can't keep losing these sums of money on this nursing home. And to segue from that, I'd like to reframe the discussion to a certain extent in that the restrictive covenant is related to the entity that owns the real estate, what we call in the industry the PropCo, property company. And what we're asking is for those covenants to be reconsidered, given the fact that the nursing home is just not viable as a nursing home, and the community needs, I think everyone agrees that it needs, there's a disagreement in terms of whether it should be the nursing home that becomes the drug rehab center, but I think everyone agrees that the community needs a drug rehab center. So there's really two options available here. One is that we're granted the amendment or the release of the deed covenants in which we would we would sell the nursing home. It would no longer be a nursing home, but it would be a viable operating drug rehab company with, again, there's nothing concrete here, but we've been informed by the potential purchaser that they're looking to put in a multi-million-dollar additional capital investment to the property to effectuate their business plan. That's option A. Option B is that we're not granted the amendment to the deed restrictions, in which case we can still close the nursing home. We do not need approval, respectfully, to close the nursing home, the operating company. There's a process in the state of Illinois for closing nursing homes. I think it's actually in the agenda, a form, obviously not with specifics, that we could close the nursing home in 60 days. The deed restrictions would remain in place. We would lose millions of dollars in value, and we would have to repay our bank loan because we do pay our debts, and we would, unfortunately, and again, we do not want to be here. If this nursing home was viable or even close to being viable, we would not be here. But we just can't do it. So in which case, the nursing home would be closed, which would be the same as if it was approved. But what you'd be left with, unfortunately, is a vacant building with no viable readaptive purpose because of the restrictive covenants that are in place. No one's going to buy it unless it's a nursing home operator. And by the way, before we came here, we tried diligently to find someone else to take over operations. We retained brokers who are well-established, respected brokers in the nursing home, national nursing home brokerage community, and unfortunately, maybe not surprisingly, given the financial performance, there just weren't any takers. So this is an option of last resort for us. It's not something that we take pleasure in, but not granting the motion is a lose-lose. We lose and the community loses because, again, it's going to be an empty building. The tax base is presumably going to be reduced, and there's really no adaptive reuse with the restrictive covenants in place. So Rothners lose, community loses. If it's granted, yes, it's no longer a nursing home. We've presented information which we believe, and I know there's differences of opinions about this, regarding the occupancy rates of nursing homes in the surrounding community. You know, we know one nursing home in particular, Champaign Urbana Nursing and Rehab in Savoy, which is approximately 5 miles away from the subject facility. that could tomorrow take all the residents that are currently there, not be 100% occupied, and any nursing home that takes on 100 new residents would require substantial new employees. And we will work with that new that alternative nursing home to effectuate as many of employees that currently are working at this facility to move to that facility. I guarantee you, because we know the individual who operates that facility. They are running significant agency numbers, meaning they can't employ enough nurses and CNAs.
Sir, I'm going to break in here because I'm confident that you've answered Jim's question. Well, I think that we have a lot of directed questions. We don't need to have.
I think you should allow him to defend the situation that the company is in, so we better understand that what it sounds like is we could lose a nursing home, all the jobs, and the people that live there have to figure out where they're going. It's just more information to make sure we make the proper decision.
The
I
board should be
understand what
driving
you're
this line
saying,
of
Jim.
questioning, in my
However,
opinion.
most of this information is in our packet already, and we can get more information with directed questions.
I don't know that the public's heard this information, and the press is here to hear what the discussion is concerns. And this is an important
The press can read the
subject.
packet as well as we can. Jenny, I believe you had the next question. Are
Point
you
of
good?
order. Are you running the meeting? Okay.
I am.
Let's go in an order. If his question hasn't been answered, let's do it. That's the point of order.
I would like Jim to rephrase his question or at least reiterate it so that we have more directed
So you're telling me as an elected county board official, for the people that I represent, that I can't ask the questions? You have to decide what questions I can ask and how they're asked.
No, I'm saying, can you
for the
restate
people
the
that elected
question?
me.
Can you restate
Was
the
elected,
question
I
for
wasn't
clarity?
appointed. I would like to allow the person to finish his statement.
I appreciate that. I'm actually I'm coming to the end of my exposition. I think it's pretty clear. Again, I was just trying to frame the lose-lose down one route and what I deem to be as close to a win-win as possible. I understand it's not 100% win-win. Everyone here, including us, truly would like this to remain a nursing home, to be successful, and for us to be the operator of it for years and years to come. But that's just not where we're at.
I believe Eric was
I'm done.
next. No, you've given it up? Jen, and then Stephanie, and then Jacob.
This nursing home in Savoy, of which you speak, do they accept Medicaid patients?
I'm sorry, I can't.
The nursing home in Savoy of which you speak that can magically take all of the people that are filling your beds, do they accept Medicaid patients?
The other nursing home that I mentioned?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're 100% duly certified. What's that? 213 beds, of which currently, or at least within the recent time frame, I'm sure it hasn't changed materially, the average occupancy was 109.
Stephanie, you're next.
I'll put it to you, there's a third option. We could always revisit this question if your doomsday scenario comes true and you can't if we decide not to sell it, if we decide that not to permit you to change your covenants and you have to do your doomsday scenario, and if the state grants you the permission to sell the nursing home and you sell the nursing home or shut it down and whatever the case may be, either you'll just sit on a property or you're going to sell it to somebody. And in that case, we could then revisit the question about the covenant with them, if indeed that happens. So your doomsday scenario, it's not one or the other. I did a little bit of analysis. Anytime I get a chart, I like to look at it a little bit. I always tell my students, if you see something with a chart line here, and you can have it if you want to pass it around, to kind of dig into the data, because it's always interesting to me when, for example, people swinging out to Danville to bring a nursing home in that's really poor performing in order to have the numbers in a particular way. So first, I'm going to help you out. I know math is super hard, and it actually is in your favor The actual occupancy rate is 62%, unless you're not basing it off of these numbers, because 1,074 of 1,738 is 62%. Your chart says 68%. So actually, the nursing homes in the area that you described are actually low, have a lower census than your chart indicates. I'd also, anytime I see a chart with that kind of glaring mistake, then I'm like, ooh, I really got to dig into the numbers. I would put it to you that there's 5 nursing homes, including your own, that are particularly poor performers. So ranging from 34 to 51%. I took 20 minutes. I looked up those nursing homes online. All of them, except for the nursing home in Tuscola, which has a 2-star rating, have 1-star ratings. I know your company doesn't care about ratings. I went back and watched the hearing when we sold the nursing home. Mr. Rothner repeatedly told us about how he doesn't care about ratings and only idiots look at the ratings. And I went and actually looked at the data behind the ratings, and in all cases, it's either low staffing or significant health violations. If you back them out, if you back out the nursing homes that are actually poor performing, such as your own, the occupancy rate is 77%. I was like, I wonder how that stacks up nationally. So then I did 5 minutes of research, and I found out that you're right. COVID has adversely impacted nursing home residency. It's not a forever solution. I get that it hurts your profits in the short term, but it's not a forever situation. We here who live in this county actually care if people who live here who are aging can stay within our county for nursing home services. I get that it's not your priority. I get that you're the lawyer and the financial advisor, but we actually care if our residents can stay here. Come to find out, the national average, where it used to be 86.6% capacity, is 77.6%. So what you're talking about is not some crazy outlier. It's actually within, it is actually the national trend right now, if you back out the poor performing nursing homes. So I'm going to put it for you. There's a third option. We could just let your doomsday scenario play out and revisit this question when you're out of the equation. Or third, you could actually try to turn the nursing home around. There's substantial things that you can do. You can, for example, have your staff answer the phone calls when people are trying to send their person to the nursing home, which we got letters that you're not doing that. You could participate in the Certified Nursing Assistant Tenure and Promotion Payments Program, which provides funding to bring in qualified CNAs, which could possibly help you with your staffing and healthcare violation ratios. You can turn the nursing home around so it's actually well-performing, and you could be part of the national average, and maybe you wouldn't be losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Simply put, trying to come in here and give us this false dichotomy of an axe over our heads that is going to chop us off if we don't bow to the ridiculous proposal that you put before us is a waste of our time. I'm just going to be blunt. I really am sorry y'all drove down here. It's going to be defeated. It's mind-blowing to me, the just basic lack of time you even took into putting this proposal together, that you couldn't even get the spreadsheet to balance out right. It's not it's not really that surprising to me, because it's about the level of performance that I expected when we sold the nursing home to you. Nothing about this is actually surprising. This is exactly what I thought would happen. I think maybe COVID accelerated it, and I will be a no vote.
I'm sorry,
Thank you,
was there a
Stephanie.
question?
No, that's her comment.
I was waiting for a question.
Mr.
Oh,
Palmer?
no, I don't have any questions for either of you.
My question also goes to performance. On your last 2 reviews, on the follow-up, you had not prepared any of the recommendations, and there were new recommendations made. Do you have any comment on that?
Are you talking about surveys?
From the state inspection.
I can't speak exactly to it because I wasn't involved. Like I said, normally Mr. Rothner would be here, so I can't answer your question specifically. I was told that the last 2 inspections were very positive. And I think it's important to circle back and realize that we stepped into this with, it was not an easy situation. There were multiple lawsuits And multiple, the star rating was a 1 when we bought this. And we have tried diligently to improve level of care. And yes, we did get put on the special focus list. It was very disappointing to us. It happens. It just does in the nursing home industry. But our last 2 surveys were very solid. Nothing, no tag higher than an E, which is not actual harm. It's a low-level tag. And to go through 2 surveys like that is was a very positive impact on our thinking. And we believe that the facility will be off the special focus shortly. And again, the star rating system in nursing homes is controversial. I'm not saying it's useless, but there's plenty of 1-star buildings that provide excellent care, and there's plenty of 5-star facilities that might not provide excellent care. It's not a perfect world, but we have certainly, again, 3.5 years. This isn't like we bowed out after 3 months or 6 months. 3.5 years. We've just wrote check after check after check. You don't think that we've tried to improve the level of care? Of course we have. We're in the business of, first, we're in the business of the people business of providing care for our residents. Secondly, we like to make a buck too. And both of those interests are aligned, because you can't have a low quality of care building and expect to make lots of money over the long term. You can do it over the short run. We don't do this. We've been in the business for 50 years. Not me personally, but our patriarch brought his first nursing home in Illinois in 1974, and he has been in this business for said 50 years. And we have a good reputation amongst the IDPH, amongst all the constituencies. In this case, it turned out to be, unfortunately, not a good decision. If we could go back and not buy this building, of course we would do that. But unfortunately, that's not how the world works. So we're just trying our best.
Jenny?
This one also is not a question, but I have worked locally with a family member who needed a rehab facility following a hospital stay, and we had to work really hard to find a bed in Champaign County where we could get her to her medical sessions in town and make sure that that service wasn't interrupted. I feel like it's not as simple as you make it sound in here. And I've also heard this week from a woman who works at University Rehab, and her commitment to the center and the care that she gives and the things that she talked about really shone through. And I talked to Mary, actually, on the phone this week, and heard from her about her daughter, who is a resident at the facility, and the disruption that she would face and the upheaval that would come from a sale. And like, to me, that speaks a lot louder than hearing about the financial decisions that you've made. I hope that it works out, that we can, that you can find a way to make this center profitable for yourselves, but I will be voting no on the sale.
Mr. Goss?
Thank you. As one of only 10 of us in this room that spent hours and hours and hours on this, part of this agreement, and there's not really a question in here, it's just a little history for you. Part of this agreement was fought and fought and fought for to get a consensus. And that was these covenants to leave this here. I realize that it's not worked out the way you wanted. I realize that COVID has been a huge problem. It's affected a lot of industries. But part of the agreement was this county board sat and shouted and spent hours and hours and hours in meetings to get to a resolution to sell to you. I visited your nursing homes. I was on the subcommittee that did this the first time. So I know what I saw. I didn't see things that really scared me, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be a no vote, and it's because I expect you to follow the covenants. If you end up choosing to close that, I agree with Ms. Furtado that we can revisit this, and I'm sorry that that's not it, but for our community, we need this nursing home. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Eric?
Yeah, thank you. And again, this is not a question, so you can talk among yourselves. Jim, thank you very much for stating it so clearly. In 2008, it was the first time I ran for county board as a blue guy in a really red district. This was a topic: keep the nursing home open. That's what I heard from a lot of people, and that continued until I actually won a seat in 2018. The nursing home was a topic, a really big topic in 2018. We were in the middle of it. I was a no on the sale. We knew who you were when we gave it to you, and this is why I was a no. We knew you were a flipper that was going to come in here and snatch up properties. We knew what was going to happen to the other two. Thank you for your explanation. That's your side of it. You can do better. You should do better. Stephanie Furtado, Dr. Furtado, gave you some things to try already to do. Get the CNAs on that bonus program. Do things right. You talk about how you honored your side of the commitment, and there was lawsuits and things. Well, I'm the chair of the litigation committee. We upheld our side of that. We've been paying off these lawsuits because that was part of the agreement, that we were responsible for that for X amount of years. We just finished up the last case 4 years later. So don't tell me how you have lawsuits and things to deal with, because we paid for that. So I've got 4 no's for you. No, heck no, hell no, and you can figure out the last one.
Mr. McGuire?
Thank you. And I actually agree with Jim Goss. I was here also. And when the whole process of selling a nursing home started, I was against the sale of the nursing home. I wanted to support the staff, wanted to support the people in the nursing home. But we're then became in the situation that we are now with the nursing home. We lost $20 million. The care suffered. It's where the lawsuits actually came from. It wasn't their lawsuits. There were lawsuits because of the care that we could not provide as a county. We still owe $3.5 million. I've seen county board members say that it was something that was positive that we sold the nursing home. And we haven't had any problem trying to figure out how to spend it in our budget because we sold the nursing home. Now we're in the situation again. We just have to decide what to do. Hopefully they aren't back here in 3 or 4 weeks, by just deciding to close it. Maybe that won't be an option to move the people then. I don't know. We can't decide that. But it's the county board that took 10 years, the leadership of the Democrat County Board, that spent $24 million on the nursing home as it ran into the ground with the care, and then gave it to them, and now are saying, well, you're doing a terrible job. Okay. But I do agree. You voted for it, so we've got to follow through with it.
I don't see, oh, Diane Michaels, go for it.
If it's possible, can we call the question, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Roll call, please.
A roll call vote has been requested. Lorraine, did you want to say something? Can we get a roll call, please, Megan?
Michaels? To
No.
Passalacqua?
No.
Paul?
No.
Rodriguez?
Nope.
Storr?
No.
Straub?
No.
Summers?
No.
Taylor?
No.
Thorsland?
No.
Vantage Theronot?
No.
Williams?
No.
Cowart?
No.
Esri?
No.
Furtado?
No.
Goss?
No.
Lakshin?
No.
McGuire?
No.
Patterson.
No.
Motion fails. Moving on to other business, I don't have any. There is no chair's report, and there are no items to be placed on the consent agenda. Thank you.
All right, up next is policy, personnel, and appointments. Mr. Storr.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Patterson. I'm looking at the monthly HR report, and there's some very distressing figures. I'd say I've not seen such a long list of vacancies of county, for county staff in my memory. We're down looking for almost 15 correctional officers, 7 court service officers, 6 assistant public defenders, and 6 part-time master control officers. This is very concerning to me, and I think to all of us. I hope that we can make a good effort to try to fulfill some of these important positions on our county staff. Next item is appointments and reappointments. First is a resolution appointing Jacob Paul to the Sangamon Valley Public Water District, term December 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2027. Do I hear a motion? So
Second,
moved.
Goss.
Second, Goss. Thank you. Is there discussion to the motion? Mr. Paul.
I care a lot about my neighbors. I care a lot about the water quality. I care a lot about figuring out solutions to the problems that Mr. Parkhill left. We are under new ownership. Mr. Parkhill is no longer the owner. It's owned by a company out of state who has no interest in taking care of that property. And then I'm interested in to learn how I can help my constituents and neighbors and my kids. Mr. Parkhill had not used licensed plumbers there for a long time, and now the effects are being seen, and he's gone. So now there really is no representation from my neighborhood on this board. I supported bipartisanly people because it was the best thing to do for this board, and I hope you take me into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Williams.
I don't know if anyone can answer this, but it's my understanding that they're going to have an election. So what happens if there's an election before 2027?
There is an election. It's this spring. So then I would no longer, I'm not on the ballot, and then that would be the end of, my term would end when the election happens.
Thank you. Mr. Goss.
Yeah, I would like to comment that Jacob Paul is the only one that's lived in that neighborhood that's ever had an opportunity to be on this board. And those people are underserved. They have been underserved. Mr. Parkhill, who owned it before, was on that board, started that water board, but he wasn't a resident. He never was a resident. There's never been a resident on that board. So I think that supporting Jacob Paul is the right thing to do here. I realize it's a very short time, but they've never been, that trailer park, which is the largest in the county, has never had a representative on this board, and Jacob would be the first.
Thank you, Mr. Goss. I have had telephone calls and conversations expressing concern about this appointment, and it's it unfortunately the appointments to the Sangamon Valley Public Water District have been controversial, one-sided, and there's been some serious problems, and the new board and the staff who've worked very hard to try to overcome some of the terrible obstacles that they've had to face in this regard are suspicious and quite concerned about whether their good efforts to recruit high-quality staff and retain them through trying to help them get into the IMRF, and because of some contentious appointment discussions at previous appointments, have expressed great concern about this appointment. And there's also been a statement that to the effect that there's concern whether these qualified people who they've struggled to retain would remain if this appointment were made because of some of these previous discussions, controversies. I'm have expressed my conflict about this, and I also concerned that I don't want to see a bunch of staff flee, as we've kind of had undergone terrible problems here in Champaign County in retaining staff and recruiting good successors. I'm just not inclined, I'm sorry, not to make this appointment. Mr. Paul?
My water comes out brown. That's all I got to say. I tried to discuss it in this board. I tried to be proactive and join the board that is responsible for making those decisions. I have no concern over people's retirement. I believe anybody has the right to choose who they would like to retire with. My concern is that the new owners of this neighborhood, where I have 700 neighbors, have already discussed that they will not repair the damages that Mr. Parkhill left. So my water will continue to be brown.
Mr. Esri?
Yes, I'd request a roll call vote, please.
Are there any further discussion?
Yes, please. And for
Mr.
some reason,
Passalacqua?
it sounds like this water board is very adverse to having qualified individuals appointed to its board.
I don't agree with it, with that particular statement, but thank you. Mr. Paul?
I actually have no qualifications in water management. I'm just a concerned citizen in the neighborhood.
And I appreciate your support of water quality issues in the past. Mr. McGuire?
Thank you. I only comment because I see another issue where the urban people are determining for rural people how they'll live and who they want to represent them, including the people living in their own neighborhoods. I think that's disappointing.
Mr. Williams?
I'm really disappointed to hear that last comment. I think you'd be surprised. You know, I think we all vote in a way, we may disagree, but we all vote in a way that we feel is best. That's all want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Seeing no other hands up, would the clerk please call the roll?
Michaels? Yes. Passalacqua? Paul?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Store?
No.
Straub?
Yes.
Summers?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thorsland?
Yes.
Vanich Theronot?
No.
Williams?
Yes.
Cowart? Esri?
Yes.
Furtado?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Lakshin?
Yes.
McGuire?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
The motion passes. Next is a resolution. I'd like to consider these next few as an omnibus. Resolution appointing Mark Richardson to Penfield Water District in term ending May 31st, 2027. Resolution appointing Steve Moser to Silver Creek Drainage District, term ending August 31st, 2025. Resolution appointing Steve Westfall to the Upper Emeraw River Basin Drainage District, term ending August 31st, 2025. And another resolution appointing Stephen Westfall to the Prairie View Cemetery Association, term ending June 30th, 2028. Do I have a motion? Mr. Passalacqua and Ms. Jen Straub, second. Thank you. Is there discussion to the motion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Vacant appointments are for drainage districts and cemetery associations. Clerk's monthly report is listed in the agenda packet. And this brings us to item C, County Board Resolution Number 1. Resolution declaring Joseph R. Biden unequivocally won the 2020 presidential election. Do I have a motion? Mr. Eric Forsland, second by Beth Van Ishtaranot. Is there discussion of the motion? Mr. Williams, you made the motion. Would you care to speak to this? We're on resolution number 1, the presidential.
So, I wish we did not have to have a resolution like this, but we do seem to have a problem in this country with accepting, some of us, with accepting the last election for president. So much so that there are groups of people inundating election authorities like our county clerk with FOIAs, asking to see ballots. Our county clerk has gotten over 15 FOIAs over a 4-day period, required the assistance of the state's attorney to deny these FOIAs. The denials were appealed to the PAC. I spoke with Matt Bannock, a lot of staff time and attorney hours were spent dealing with these FOIAs. And it's all because some people cannot accept the outcome of the last election. So this resolution, in my view, is needed.
Mr. Thorsland.
One of the members of the public asked why we were wasting our time with this, and this isn't just a national problem, it's a local problem too. We have candidates on the local ballot, as pointed out earlier, who, if they win the position they're running for, would be responsible for counting votes, who do not believe the outcome of the presidential election. So I think it is important to point out with this resolution that this election has been probably the most thoroughly vetted, analyzed, audited, sued, counted again, over and over again. Its outcome was clear. It was probably the most scrutinized election ever, and there was a very clear outcome. And I think it's important that if we're going to have people running for offices here in the county that don't accept that we need to codify it now.
Thank you. Ms. Furtado.
I'd like to request a roll call.
Is there any other discussion to the motion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Passalacqua? Paul?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Storr?
Yes.
Straub?
Yes.
Summers?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thorsland?
Yes.
Vanich Thironat?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Cowart? Esri?
No.
Furtado?
Yes.
Goss?
No.
Lokshin?
Yes.
McGuire? Patterson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to the next resolution, declaring Champaign County a champion of reproductive freedom. Do I have a motion? Or could somebody make a motion? Mr. Wayne Williams. Second. Jenny Lokshin gets the second. Thank you, Jenny. Is there discussion to this motion, or to this resolution? Dr. Furtado.
I typically am not a big fan of motions that are sort of position statements on issues, whether it was, the time where we were like, the Ameren shut-off situation. I've spoken about this. I do think that there are occasions, though, where it's important as an historian to be on the record as a body. And I think that this is a moment where that is the case. And as an historian who studies race in America, unequivocally, the idea that slavery and the Holocaust were brought into this space and discussed in a somehow egregious comparison to a woman's bodily autonomy indicates to me the need for this kind of motion. It is, there's times where it's on us to unequivocally say what we believe. And I think this is one of those moments when I hear the horrific stories coming from places like Texas. It's important. In the future, people are going to want to know where people stood on certain things. I want to be on the record where I stand on this. I want to speak about it clearly. And I want a roll call.
Thank you. Jenny?
Just a quick comment. I know that we are already as a county, seeing an influx of people to our clinic, which also was brought up during public comment. I want to make sure that people know that they're welcome here, that they feel safe here, and that they can receive the services that they need, the health care that they need access to here in Champaign County.
Thank you. Ms. Cowart, please.
I'd like for it to be on record that I do not agree with abortion, but I am not one to tell another person what to do with their body. If they want to have abortion, that's something that they have to deal with. But I cannot say what they can do with their bodies.
Thank you. John?
As the mother of more children, that is probably completely reasonable. I'm very much in support of this. It has never been more clear to me how every child that comes into our world needs to be a wanted child. And it has never been more clear to me how important it is for women and their partners to choose when and where and how to start their families in order to make sure that they are able to pursue the lives that, you know, and to pursue their dreams. So I am in complete favor of this. I can't say enough how important it is for me to be on record as saying this for all of my children and for my constituency. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Straub. I don't see any other hands up. A roll call has been called. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Pasalakwa. Paul.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Summers.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Vanich Theranot.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cowart. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. Cowart.
Yes.
Esri,
No.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
No.
Lakshan,
Yes.
McGuire, Patterson.
Yes.
The motion passes. I don't have any other business or a chair's report. Items to be placed on the consent agenda are A, 2, items B, C, D, and E. Chairman Patterson, we have no other business before this committee.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other business for the committee of the whole, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.